Joining me now is U.S. Customs and Border Protection Senior Advisor Ronald Vitiello. Ronald, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. The president has notched 200 days of success and wins, certainly in his term. Securing the border in his second term is obviously one of his major successes. How do you see things?
Well, the numbers tell that story, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, there's a radical transformation going on at the border right now as we speak. About 10,000 troops from the Department of Defense standing side by side with the Border Patrol. If someone tries to cross the border, they will likely get arrested. They will most likely be prosecuted, and they'd be put on a path for removal back to where they came. And so what that means is fewer people are trying. It's much safer for our agents and our officers at the border, and they're able to do the job that we want them to do, which is patrol the border, stop the drugs, stop the human trafficking, rescue people who are in distress at the border. So all of those capabilities have been increased by over 100%. Just by the mere fact that the workload is so far down, 148 apprehensions in 24 hours. That's a huge change on the southwest border and more to come. And that's due to the leadership of the Oval Office with President Trump, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, giving the tools to the front line for them to succeed. Our interagency partners, like I said, with DOD, the Department of Justice is taking most of the cases referred for prosecutions that people crossing the border illegally. That is a felony if you do it 2 times in a row. And so all of that, the State Department helping us get people back to where they come from, ICE having their flights flying all over the world, sending people back from where they came. And so all of these capabilities have been increased by the mere fact of the policy and the leadership. And now it's time to continue to elaborate on the success at the border by sustaining it, putting more tech, putting more wall up, and continuing those consequences so the world gets the message. Now is not the time to come. And it really means what we say.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I remember going to the border during its peak. I think it was like 7,000 people a day or 8,000 people. That one day when you had all those people under the bridge in Eagle Pass, I mean, it was really such a sight to see all of these people trying to get into America. You're talking about 148 versus thousands and thousands, 5,600 in 2023, 7,000 to 8,000 at its peak. I mean, that is a huge change. And I assume border towns are really feeling lots of relief, because when I was at the border several times over those years, you know, ranch owners, property owners were telling me that every day they had to go out and carry their pistol with them just to throw out the garbage because migrants and people, strangers, were on their property.
It's a very good point. The people that live there every day recognize, and they always appreciated what the Border Patrol did, but they were overwhelmed for the 4 years of Biden. That nonsense is now over. They're much safer than they were, 4 years ago. And so we're very happy to be able to elaborate on the policies of the president and are looking forward to increasing those capabilities with the items that are in the bill for the growth that CBP and ICE are going to have going forward.
And yet DHS is set to open another migrant detention center in Indiana called the Speedway Slammer. It's modeled off of Florida's Alligator Alcatraz. A Miami federal judge, however, is ordering a temporary halt to all construction of the Alcatraz facility for 2 weeks after a lawsuit from environmental groups. They're arguing that federal agencies did not assess the potential impact that it could have on the Florida Everglades. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' office said this: today's ruling by an activist judge will have no impact on immigration enforcement in Florida. Alligator Alcatraz will remain operational. Ronald, your thoughts on where this is going?
Well, Florida has been a wonderful partner, lots of 287G partnerships with ICE. Having the additional detention space makes ICE more capable. Adding in Indiana will also give them more capability. What that means is those beds are the threshold for a flight out of the country. And so they're going to need that additional capability. And we'll continue to work with our partners in Florida to continue the operations as it relates to what ICE is doing in the interior as we continue to keep the border locked down.
So Customs and Border Patrol seized more than $1 million worth of fentanyl and cocaine at the International Bridge over the Rio Grande River. Ronald, this is incredible that these drugs still flow in. President Trump has been working tirelessly to stop the flow of fentanyl into our country. He's using every lever he can, including tariffs and whatever he can use on countries to actually play their part in stopping the fentanyl. How bad is it?
Well, it still continues to be a threat. So hats off to those officers at the port that found that fentanyl and kept it off the streets of the United States. But you make a very important point, right? Mexico and Canada are full partners in the operations at the border, right? We want tourism. We want trade with both countries. But we want that trade to be mutually beneficial. And part of what needs to happen is we got to stop these precursors from coming into the hemisphere from overseas that then get converted in Mexico into fentanyl and smuggled across our borders. This fentanyl is killing too many Americans still, but those partnerships are now stronger because of the threat of tariffs, because of the recognition that you have a leader in the White House that has got his hand out and saying, look, let's do these things together. We can all make America safe and make the hemisphere more safe as well.
All right, we will leave it there. Ronald, great to get your take. Thanks very much. Ronald Vitiello joining us. We'll see you soon, sir.